President Zelensky of Ukraine came out and said that if Russia and China become allies, then it will start World War III. And me being in America, I don't know why we're a part of that war. That has nothing to do with me. Ukraine is a small country, and I never planned on visiting it. And I can't even find it on a map still to this day, and I haven't even tried. But yet, he came out and said this because, well, we keep giving them money. We've already gave them over $100 billion, and apparently former Vice President Joe Biden decided to give them an extra $500 million in military aid. Even though, the whole situation in East Palestine, Ohio, where the whole chemical spill that can affect millions of American citizens is going on, and he can choose to help them. But nope, him and Pete Buttigieg just want to look over that. But it isn't our war. We're acting like that Ukraine is unofficial NATO allies, but they're not. NATO is just getting involved for some strange reason. There's no reason why American citizens should be taxed for a war that has nothing to do with us. Even people at the Pentagon don't understand why we're over there. And I'm glad that this reporter, this journalist, Matt Lee, actually grilled John Kirby from the Pentagon.
To look at this and say the reason that the Russian army is on NATO, the Russian army is at NATO's doorstep is because NATO has expanded rather than the Russians expanding. That, in other words, NATO has moved closer to Russia rather than Russia moving closer to NATO. Is that not an accurate way to look at this?
I think that's the way President Putin probably looks at it. It's certainly not the way that we look at it.
You don't think that NATO has expanded eastward toward Russia?
NATO has expanded,
okay.
and the expansion has been a good thing for...
So the reason that the Russian army is at NATO's doorstep is not the fault of the Russian army, it's not the Russian army that's done it. It's NATO has moved closer to moved
I'm pretty
east.
sure it wasn't NATO who was ordering, upwards of 15 battalion tactical groups to within 10 kilometers of the border with Ukraine. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't NATO who put little green men inside Ukraine to destabilize eastern cities.
I'm pretty sure that Ukraine is not a member of NATO. So unless that's changed,
it's not changed. But I'm pretty sure the movement by Russia is Russia's decision.
If NATO is moved east, the reason that the Russian army is closer or on NATO's doorstep is because NATO moved.
NATO is not an anti-Russia alliance. NATO is a security alliance.
For 50 years, it was an anti-Soviet alliance. So
Where's
do you
the
not
Soviet
understand
Union
it? So do you not understand how, or can you not even see how the Russians will perceive it as a threat, and the fact that it keeps getting closer to their border while their troops, I mean, the places where their troops are, you say their troops are, and may have been in Ukraine and Georgia, are not NATO members.
I'm not going to pretend to know what goes in President Putin's mind or Russian military commanders. I mean, I barely got a history degree at the University of South Florida. Right. What I can tell you is that NATO is a defensive alliance. It remains a defensive alliance.
Fair enough, but it has moved east. Correct? I mean, that's just a fact.
It has expanded, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
But there's no reason for anybody to think the expansion is a hostile or threatening move. And we've been saying that throughout the last 15 years, man.
It's like you're moving closer to Russia. You're blaming the Russians for being close to NATO.
No.
That's exactly what Hegel said.
We're blaming the Russians for violating the territorial integrity of Ukraine and destabilizing the security situation inside Europe.
Which is not a NATO member.
I see
other countries feel threatened.
All I know is from history, the only reason why NATO was created was to fight against the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, but yet there's still a NATO, and it's expanding. And I can see why Russia and Putin could be a little upset because NATO is expanding all the way to Russia, and they don't want NATO in their backyard. Kind of the same way in history about the whole Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs situation. You can look that up later. Well, let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you think that we need to be in this war with Ukraine, or do you think we should just mind our business and try to save our tax dollars for things that really affect the American people, like chemicals that is in the water and, the whole egg crisis and crime and the border and all that good stuff? Well, I'm your host, TJ Evans, with another installment of the TJ Evans Show. Remember, do your own research. Y'all stay safe, stay prayed up. Go do the YouTube and Rumble thing. Subscribe to the Royal Family Studios page. Also, check out my book on Amazon, The Diary of Marvin DeWayne. Peace.